You've tuned into The Mountain Gardener with your host, Ken Lain. Gardening, it can be challenging, but with these simple insider tips, you'll reap huge rewards. Now, let's tune into today's Mountain Gardener with Ken and Lisa. So I had a record, berries, blackberries, raspberries, grapes of all colors. I've got an entire fence line of just nothing but berries and grapes. And it has been blockbuster. I've never seen anything like it. It has to be all that moisture we had this last fall. There were bigger clusters, more clusters, bigger berries, more berries. And I thought I would just share what am I doing to have such a great production. So some folks struggle. Their grapes are smaller than they're used to, or there's less of them or less berries. And I would say there's if you're wondering, let's start with berries. If you're starting with berries, start with blackberries and boysenberries. They're kind of the most consistent, I find. Then you go to raspberries, gold, red, black. And then what else? Those are and then blueberries. Blueberries, I struggle a little bit. They don't get as large. The bushes aren't as large and the berries are smaller. I think it has to do with the alkalinity of the water, makes it more difficult. But when you do get them, they are the sweetest thing. They melt in your mouth. My mouth's watering just thinking about them. So, but blackberries, there's just so many big, gigantic berries. The secret with berries is all about food, and about pruning. So, the berry plants have been putting on tremendous new canes. These are brambles. They're big plants. They need space. You got to respect them. I tend to prefer thornless blackberries. I have a small yard, a half acres, what I'm gardening on a half an acre, and they can quickly take over a big space where you're kind of walking by them, they kind of grab you. Well, I'm not having that. So there are thornless series of blackberries, and they produce just as well, if not better, than their thorned varieties. And so I've just gone to all thornless varieties of raspberries and blackberries. And so look for that. I'm pruning those back right now. No, actually, not now. I'm encouraging the new canes to grow. So I know I've been picking off the berries off of certain canes. And those are the ones I'm going to actually prune those back probably in winter, if not sooner. So the canes that are producing fruit right now, note to self, mark them, put a string, put a piece of bird tape is what I do to keep the birds off, and go, oh, that one I'm going to prune back here at the end of the year. And I do. The ones that are not producing right now, but they're growing so aggressively, they've put on 10 feet. Those are the ones that will produce fruit next spring and summer, basically. And they flower in the spring, produce fruit in the summer and fall. Those are the ones I'm going, okay, so pruning. I'm noting which ones are producing, which ones are just growing, so I know what to prune, and then I'm fertilizing regularly. And so I'm fertilizing probably every other month with the fruit and vegetable food. I make a special organic food. It's great stuff. It really produces heavier fruit count and larger fruits, whether it's an apple, a plum, a peach, a cherry, or a berry. It's the one you want to use. And so I'll sprinkle that on there. And the most important feeding of the entire year, as soon as you get done picking all those berries, fertilize it with the 6-4-4-7 all, fruit and vegetable food. That's the most important feeding. It's going to use that to kind of hibernate and store a lot of food down at the root structure. And that's what it's going to use to really produce heavy blossoms, which means more fruit for you next spring. Grapes, similar. They don't quite, because they're such deep rooted plants. So grapes have a root structure go down easily 3 feet, if not more. I don't know how far they go. They got roots that go right down. And so they'll to be consistent with fertilizing, fall and spring are your most critical for good heavy grape count. But right now they're producing. We're harvesting the grapes off of, whether it's a table grape, that's what I'm using, or growing, or whether it's a vineyard type of grape, so higher sugar count, still delicious but smaller, not as anyway. Table grapes, what I'm producing. Those are coming off right now. So they start to harvest those usually into August, September, first part of October. This is kind of August, September is when you're harvesting lots of grapes. There'll be a wave of them. And so they produce a lot of, again, long tendrils, lots, big, long vines coming off of grapes. You want as long of vines as you can, because the more foliage you get, the more sugars it can create, the more fruits it can produce. And so I've got mine grown on a 6-foot cedar fence. My vines, my grapes are growing up about 6 feet. And then I have them going off in a T shape down the fence line. And so that's the more foliage, the better. And so as soon as I'm done kind of harvesting all of those grapes, I'll fertilize them with the 644 all-purpose plant food. Again, October is a really critical time to fertilize anything you're going to harvest any kind of fruit, whether it's a fruit tree, a grape, a pomegranate, a fig, or a grape berries kind of stuff. It is critical to fertilize this next month or so. And then I'll prune that back. Usually I'm kind of lackadaisical about it. I've got a lot of time to prune my grapes. I will prune off pretty much most of the new cane growth, the new vines that came out. That goes right back to basically, I've got my main trunk under the top of the 6-foot cedar fence. Or if you're a 5-foot fence or 4-foot, go to the top of the barbed wire, whatever that is, and then tee off of that. And then you're going to encourage new vines to come off of that next spring. That's it's going to come off of that. And so the more new growth you get, the better off you are with those grapes. So there's a lot of heavy, aggressive pruning, more so than you do with other varieties of edible plants, more so than trees, berries. I guess figs get pretty close to that. You're really aggressive on figs, but you're going to prune back most of that cane growth or grape vine growth, probably January, February, March, somewhere in there. They're not going to start growing till the end of March, April. And so I've got plenty of time. So I just kind of leave it alone as it turns fall color. It will actually take some of those sugars and store it down in the structure, the root structure. And then it will use that food and that new root growth to force new flowers next spring or next new vine growth on the grapes. That's kind of how you do it, really consistent with the food. The two most important feedings for grapes by far are October and March. Fertilize real heavily with that organic fertilizer, the 6447 all-purpose plant food or fruit and vegetable food. Now that'll be consistency with that. And then you're watering that. I treat it like a tree. I actually have it on my tree irrigation. I water it once a week, and it just makes it really happy. Big clusters of grapes coming off of that. Thick, juicy berries. Again, the berries and the grapes are on the same irrigation system as my trees and shrubs. I've been watering those once a week throughout the growing season. I just scaled it back to every 8 days. I'll go back to every 9 or so after I've picked all the harvest off. So there's no fruit left on them. I'm starting to see some fall color show up at the end of October or so. I'll start to scale back and let things go dormant for the winter season. That's kind of how I do it. You can do the same thing for figs, for pomegranates. What else grows like that? Currants, gooseberries are very, very similar types of harvesting and trimming. You're going to trim most of those or prune on those, most of them, kind of late winter, early spring. So don't be in a hurry unless they're just in the way. Then you can cut them back. But generally, I'll let things kind of do their own thing till after the new year, after all the holidays are done. Then I'll start pruning. I'll get kind of bored. I go, I want to be outside. I am tired of sipping tea and eating cookies. I've put on my winter 10 pounds and I just want to be outside. I'll go out and start slowly modifying the soils, pruning things back. You've got a big window to do that with. Anyway, that's how you harvest grapes, berries, and take care of them for a better production in your backyard. Water's October companion plants that grow well together are blaze maples, burning bush, Arizona creeper, glamour kale, and spicy mum.
Water's Spicy Mums are best sellers for super long bloom times and local garden tough.
Spicy Mums glow yellow with a halo of fiery orange around each daisy flower.
These big, bold perennials are perfectly shaped and add color in autumn when few flowers are in peak blooms.
You'll find bright fall flowers here at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. For a more fruitful garden, increase success in the landscape that just feels better, then tune in daily to the Mountain Gardener podcast. Subscribe through your favorite podcast streamer or visit watersgardencenter.com. Better yet, visit me directly right here at Waters Garden Center. Thanks for tuning in.